You've been lied to, not by accident, not by mistake, but systematically, deliberately, by every institution that promised to teach you how to succeed. They told you to be kind, to play fair, to wait your turn. They told you the world rewards patience and humility. They told you that if you just work hard enough, if you just follow the rules, someone will eventually notice. Someone will eventually care. But look around. Look at where kindness got you. Look at where patience left you standing. While you waited for your turn, someone else took 3. While you played fair, they rewrote the rules. And while you believed in justice, they built empires on your silence. The truth is this: nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is coming to recognize your worth. Nobody is coming to hand you what you deserve. And the moment you understand this, the moment you truly internalize that the world operates on power, not fairness, is the moment you stop being a victim and start becoming dangerous. Machiavelli understood something that most people spend their entire lives refusing to accept. He understood that morality, as it's taught to you, is a control mechanism. It's a leash. It's a carefully constructed illusion designed to keep you docile, predictable, and manageable. Because a person who believes the world is just will never fight back. A person who believes in karma will accept their suffering as temporary. A person who thinks goodness is its own reward will never question why they're the only one being good while everyone else is getting ahead. Machiavelli looked at power and stripped away every romantic notion, every comforting lie, and what he found underneath was brutal and beautiful in its simplicity. Power does not care about your feelings. Power does not care about your intentions. Power cares only about results. And the people who understand this, the people who internalize this single truth, are the ones who cannot be stopped. You see, most people operate under the delusion that the world sees them the way they see themselves. They believe their hard work is visible. They believe their loyalty is valued. They believe their sacrifices are noticed. But here's the reality: people don't see your effort. They see your results. People don't reward your intentions. They exploit your predictability. You think being reliable makes you valuable. It doesn't. It makes you convenient. You think being available makes you necessary. It doesn't. It makes you disposable. The moment you understand that your worth in someone else's eyes is determined entirely by what you can do for them, and not by who you are, is the moment you stop giving power away for free. Machiavelli said it plainly: it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Not because fear is noble, but because fear is reliable. Love is conditional. Love evaporates when convenience fades. But fear, respect born from capability and consequence, that endures. Now, you might be thinking this sounds cold, cynical, manipulative, and you'd be right. But here's the question you need to ask yourself: would you rather be warm and powerless, or cold and free? Because the uncomfortable truth is that the people who hold power over you right now, the bosses who underpay you, the friends who take more than they give, the systems that keep you in place, they're already using these principles. They're already operating from a Machiavellian framework. They just don't tell you. They just don't admit it. So while you're busy trying to be ethical, trying to be fair, trying to be the good person, they're 3 steps ahead, making decisions based on strategy, not sentiment. And that's why you feel stuck. That's why you feel invisible. That's why, no matter how hard you try, it feels like you're running in place while everyone else is moving forward. Because you're playing a different game. You're playing the game you were told to play. They're playing the game that actually exists. Let's talk about what it means to be unstoppable. It doesn't mean you're invincible. It doesn't mean nothing can hurt you. It means that nothing external can define you. It means that your sense of self, your direction, your purpose, is entirely self-determined. Machiavelli understood that the greatest prison is the one you don't realize you're in. And most people are imprisoned by the need for approval. They need their parents to be proud. They need their boss to recognize them. They need their partner to validate them. They need society to tell them they're doing it right. And every single one of those needs is a chain. Every time you look outside yourself for confirmation that you matter, you hand someone else the keys to your cage. The Machiavellian understands this. The Stoic understands this. The truly powerful person understands that the only opinion that matters is the one you hold of yourself. And once you internalize that, once you truly stop caring what people think, you become untouchable. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. One that makes most people uncomfortable because it requires them to abandon the last shred of their comforting worldview. And that truth is this: most people don't want you to succeed. They don't want you to break free. Not because they're evil. Not because they hate you. But because your freedom is a mirror that reflects their chains. Your success is an indictment of their excuses. The moment you rise, you prove that it was always possible. And that reality, that simple, undeniable fact, terrifies them. So they'll discourage you. They'll call you selfish. They'll call you cold. They'll say you've changed. And they'll be right. You have changed. You've stopped shrinking yourself to make them comfortable. You've stopped dimming your light so they don't feel inadequate. And that's unforgivable to them. Not because you did something wrong, but because you reminded them that they're capable of more and chose comfort instead. Machiavelli wrote that a wise prince cannot and should not keep his word when keeping it is to his disadvantage. Now, most people hear that and recoil. They think it means be dishonest, be a liar, betray everyone. But that's not what it means. What it means is that your commitments should serve your purpose, not the other way around. Most people are trapped by commitments they made in ignorance. Jobs they took because they needed money. Relationships they stayed in because they feared being alone. Identities they built because someone told them who to be. And now, years later, those commitments have calcified into cages. They can't leave the job because they have bills. They can't end the relationship because they've invested too much time. They can't change who they are because everyone expects them to stay the same. And so they suffer. They resent. They slowly die inside while maintaining the appearance of stability. Machiavelli is telling you that loyalty to a decision that no longer serves you is not virtue. It's cowardice disguised as consistency. Here's what separates the powerful from the powerless. The powerful make decisions based on what is, not what should be. The powerless make decisions based on how they wish the world worked. You wish people were loyal. They're not. You wish hard work was enough. It isn't. You wish being good guaranteed good outcomes. It doesn't. And every moment you spend wishing the world were different is a moment you're not adapting to the world as it actually is. The Machiavellian doesn't waste time lamenting injustice. The Machiavellian studies the system, identifies the levers of power, and pulls them. Does that mean be ruthless? Sometimes. Does that mean be deceptive when necessary? Does that mean prioritize results over relationships? Absolutely. Because here's the brutal truth. People respect results. They don't respect effort. They don't respect struggle. They don't respect your story. They respect what you've built. And if you're not building, if you're just enduring, you're not earning respect. You're earning pity. And pity is not power. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. The part of you that's screaming right now, saying this can't be right. Saying there has to be another way. Saying surely kindness matters. Surely being good counts for something. And here's the truth, it does, but not in the way you think. Kindness without power is irrelevant. Goodness without strategy is self-sacrifice. Morality without results is just performance. You can be kind and powerful. You can be good and strategic, but you cannot be naive and free. You cannot be passive and respected. You cannot wait for the world to notice you and expect anything other than disappointment. The difference between the person who succeeds and the person who suffers is not morality. It's not intelligence. It's not even luck. It's the willingness to act in their own interest without apologizing for it. It's the ability to say no without guilt. It's the courage to prioritize themselves without needing permission. And if that sounds selfish to you, good. It means you're starting to understand. Machiavelli also understood something about fear that most people misinterpret. He didn't say be cruel. He said be willing to be cruel when necessary. He said it's better to be feared than loved, because love is fickle, but fear is based on the recognition of consequence. When people love you, they stay as long as it benefits them. When people fear you, they stay because crossing you costs more than compliance. And before you dismiss that as toxic, ask yourself this: how many people in your life take advantage of your kindness? How many people show up only when they need something? How many relationships are you carrying entirely on your back because you're afraid of what happens? If you stop, that's not love, that's dependency. And the moment you stop enabling it, the moment you establish boundaries, consequences, standards, you'll see who actually values you and who was just using you. And that revelation, as painful as it might be, is the beginning of freedom. But there is something even more dangerous than external opposition, something more insidious than the people who doubt you or the systems that resist you. And that's the voice inside your own head that whispers you're not ready, that you need more time, more preparation, more certainty. That voice is not protecting you. That voice is the internalized authority of every person who ever benefited from your silence. Every parent who wanted you manageable. Every teacher who wanted you obedient. Every boss who wanted you replaceable. That voice sounds like caution, but it's actually sabotage. And the Machiavellian move, the truly powerful move, is recognizing that you will never feel ready. You will never have certainty. You will never have all the answers, and acting anyway. Acting not because you're confident, but because waiting for confidence is just another way of choosing stagnation. The person who cannot be stopped is not the person without fear. It's the person who acts in spite of it. Consider this: every empire, every movement, every revolution began with someone deciding that the rules didn't apply to them. Not because they were special, not because they were chosen, but because they refused to accept the limitations placed on them. They looked at the world and said, "This isn't working for me, and I'm going to change it." And everyone around them called them crazy, arrogant, dangerous, until they succeeded. And then, those same people called them visionaries. The only difference between a rebel and a leader is outcome. The only difference between defiance and an innovation is results. And if you're waiting for permission to break the rules that are holding you back, you've already lost. Because permission is a cage. Permission is someone else deciding your value. And the moment you realize you don't need it, the moment you give yourself permission, is the moment you become dangerous. Now, Machiavelli also warned about one critical mistake that destroys more rising powers than any external enemy ever could. And that's the mistake of half measures, of making a move and then apologizing for it, of asserting yourself and then backtracking when people push back, of setting a boundary and then negotiating it away. Power, real power, requires commitment. It requires the willingness to follow through. Because people test you. They test your resolve, your consistency, your willingness to enforce consequences. And the moment you flinch, the moment you show that your boundaries are negotiable, you lose, not just the battle, but the war. Because now they know. They know you'll back down. They know you'll compromise. They know you value their comfort more than your own standards. And they'll exploit that forever. The Machiavellian understands that sometimes you have to be willing to lose people to gain yourself. Sometimes you have to be willing to be misunderstood to maintain integrity. Sometimes the cost of power is isolation, and that's a price worth paying. So what does this actually look like in practice? It looks like stopping the explanations. It looks like making decisions and not justifying them to people who wouldn't understand anyway. It looks like saying no and meaning it. It looks like recognizing when someone is wasting your time and removing them from your life without guilt. It looks like building something that matters to you and refusing to dilute it to make it palatable to people who will never support you anyway. It looks like understanding that your life is finite, your energy is limited, and every moment you spend managing someone else's emotions is a moment stolen from building your own empire. And yes, empire, not in the sense of conquest, but in the sense of autonomy. An empire is simply a life you control, a domain where your word is final, a reality you built according to your own vision. And most people will never build that because they're too busy managing perceptions, maintaining relationships that drain them, and apologizing for taking up space. Here's the paradox that Machiavelli understood, and most people don't. True freedom requires discipline. True power requires restraint. You cannot be unstoppable if you're reactive. You cannot be unbreakable if you're emotional. The person who cannot be manipulated is not the person without emotions, but the person whose emotions don't dictate their decisions. You can feel anger and choose not to act on it. You can feel fear and move forward anyway. You can feel attachment and still enforce boundaries. That's power. Not the absence of feeling, but the refusal to be controlled by it. And the moment you master that, the moment you create that space between stimulus and response, you become sovereign. You become the author of your own story instead of a character in someone else's. But let me tell you what happens when you actually start living this way. When you stop seeking approval and start seeking results. When you stop being nice and start being honest. When you stop accommodating and start building. People will hate it. They'll call you selfish. They'll say you've lost your way. They'll accuse you of being cold, calculating, manipulative. And every single one of those accusations is a confession. They're telling you that they preferred you weak. They're admitting that your compliance was convenient. They're revealing that your growth threatens them. And that's how you know you're on the right path. Not because everyone supports you, but because the people who benefited from your smallness are terrified of your expansion, and their fear is not your problem. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. Your only responsibility is to yourself, to your purpose, to the life you're building. And anyone who demands you shrink to make them comfortable has already told you everything you need to know about their place in your future. Now, here's the final piece. The part that ties everything together. The reason why nobody can hold you back, break you, or stop you once you understand this framework. It's because holding you back requires your participation. Breaking you requires your permission. Stopping you requires your surrender. And none of those things are external. They're internal. You are the one who decides when you've had enough. You are the one who decides when to quit. You are the one who decides whether someone's opinion matters. The entire system, every structure of control, every mechanism of limitation, relies on you believing you're powerless. It relies on you thinking you need permission. It relies on you waiting for someone else to tell you you're ready. And the moment you stop believing that, the moment you reclaim your agency, is the moment the cage disappears. Not because it was never there, but because you realize the door was never locked. You were just taught not to try the handle. Machiavelli wrote for princes, for people who understood that power is not given, it's taken. That respect is not earned through submission, but commanded through competence. That legacy is not built on being liked, but on being effective. And while his methods might make you uncomfortable, while his worldview might challenge everything you were taught, ask yourself this: are the people who taught you to be kind and patient and fair, are they free? Are they powerful? Are they living the life you want? Or Are they teaching you limitations disguised as virtues? Because those limitations kept them safe. Because safety is not freedom. Comfort is not power. And being well, liked by people who aren't going anywhere is not success. You've been lied to. They told you the world rewards patience and humility. They told you someone will eventually notice, but nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is coming to recognize your worth. And the moment you understand this, the moment you truly internalize that the world operates on power, not fairness, is the moment you stop being a victim and start becoming dangerous.